Okay. So basically, what happened was this morning I was listening to this guy, Naval. I still don't know his name, but a while ago he did this tweet storm, and the tweet storm was basically like a bunch of tweets back to back, and the tweet storm was how to get rich without being lucky. And so, he covered a bunch of stuff like basically realized that in today's day and age, like you are an agency. That was one of the things that it says, like you're the digital agency no matter what, because everybody that has a Facebook, everybody that has an Instagram or whatever, like normally it used to be like publicists or full media agencies or companies used to be the ones that had that level of access. Right, so like I watched the thing, I read the tweets. A lot of people wrote about it, like, "Oh, this is really great stuff," blah blah blah, and it talked about more or less like like you can't get rich renting out your time for money and the normal stuff that you usually hear. Compounding interest is like the only secret in the world for like being an owner instead of like someone that's like working at the place, like all those things. But so I don't know what led me to like look for him today, but so I decided to go look for him, and I found a video where I guess on the aftermath of the thing like picking up and going as viral as it did, like there were like a ton of people that actually like listened to the thing and wrote about it and read it and had like podcast episodes talking about it. Like it was big some time ago, probably a couple months at this point. So I decided to like look him up just to see if he had a presence on YouTube, and it's like this horrible, low quality video where he's just like talking about what led to it, how he approached it, and why he put out the tweet storm. And so he goes in, he's about 10 minutes into the thing, maybe 5 minutes, and he says that he can sum up the whole thing into more or less like 2 words, right? And that's productize yourself. And that's what it clicked for me, right? It's like, you think about, I don't know if you've heard of like people talking about personal branding or so like people are talking about personal branding, people are talking about whatever, your personal image, getting your LinkedIn profile together, your Facebook profile, whatever it is, like all those things, right, that people talk about. If you're approaching it from the idea of branding, like branding means nothing to me, right? It's like, okay, I need to create my personal brand, so now I gotta write up some shit about myself, like I'm JP, right? And so it's like I've struggled with it so much because it's like I know what my kind of like my purpose and mission is as I understand it at this point in my life, right? Because it's like I've known from like say like the time I was, I don't know, maybe like 21, 22, that my biggest thing is to help people maximize their potential. Like that's been my thing in many words, in different ways or whatever. And sort of like I've tweaked that over the years for like the last like 15, 20 years at this point, almost 20, 15 years. I've tweaked that over and over again, and I got to a point where it's like, okay, cool. It's just like, all right, making ideas reality is really my thing because I'm a maker and like someone that likes to create things, but I also like to facilitate the process of something going from intangible to like concrete and done. Like for some, that's something that's not the most exciting thing for most people. Like some people might consider it boring, some people might consider it whatever. But for me, it's like, no, if you're gonna there's nothing better than sitting down with a blank piece of paper and then like the blank canvas experience, right? You're sitting down with a blank piece of paper, there's nothing there. And you're like, all right, cool. What's gonna be here when it's done? And then you come up with something. So looking at all of that stuff is like, okay, to be able to take that kind of like value, because it's like I've made a study of productivity because I thought that was really the only way, right? It's like if you have some kind of like end in mind, right? Being productive is basically working towards that end. So everything that leads you towards that result is productive. Everything that doesn't isn't. People talk about productivity like it's not about timers, it's not about calendars, it's not about all the other shit that people do. It's literally like, are you getting your result? So if your goal is to be like fat and chubby and you're sitting down watching TV and that gets you that result, productive, mission accomplished. But if your goal is to be like skinny and slim and you're sitting down watching TV but you're not eating and that gets you the same result, still productive, right? It's like I'm trying to find something that's like parallel ends of it. But hearing this guy talk about basically like it's like a product, making a product of yourself, right? It's like you are the product. And that's like, that made it click for me, because if you think of like any brand that you respect, so you think of like, say, Bose, right? At least for me, Bose is a brand that I respect, not because Bose stuff is expensive, right? So it's not like, oh, Bose is super expensive, so if I wear a Bose brand, people will know that I got the expensive shit. It's like, no, Bose quality, it's amazing, head over heels over everybody else. So it's like, I want that product, so I go buy Bose stuff. Now, there are people that buy Bose stuff because it's like, it's just expensive, and they equate expensive with what's good. But it's like, the reason I don't buy, I don't know, like Louis Vuitton stuff is because I don't believe that paying for a Louis Vuitton brand has anything to do with me getting a quality that is that much better as it is that much more expensive, right? So I'll pay for something that's more expensive, but I'll pay for a quality product first.
Quality over the image.
Boom, that's it. I don't give a shit about the image. I don't give a shit about the brand. So personally, I always struggle with the idea of a personal brand. Like, how do you sell yourself? How do you put yourself out there?
But most people care about the image over.
Oh, yeah, I know, but fuck those guys, right? Right? It's like, for those people, then it's like, okay, cool. They can all go. They can get their, their Louis Vuitton gear, and I don't know what else they're getting. Like, but if you basically like look at yourself like a product, then it solves the personal branding issue. At least for me, it did, because it's like, the minute you look at the personal branding issue, then
you're selling yourself as quality or image.
Well, but that's the thing. If I was looking at the personal brand, it always messes with me, because I'm thinking it's about the image.
If you want to sell to a mass market, it is about the image.
No, it's about the product. Because if I didn't have a product, for me, right? It's like, other people might sell differently, but for me, if I didn't have a product to sell, then I'm cultivating an image around some imaginary product that doesn't exist. But I do. The product is me. And every product has features, benefits, right? A history of it. So you think about it like, okay, let's say JP like 0.5, right? So JP 0.5, let's say, was living in New York City, freelancing, right? And so it's like, you get to work with a whole bunch of, so it has experience working with multiple businesses, multiple personality types, this, that, and the third, right? JP 1.0 then decided to go start working with startups. So JP 1.0 had a lot of experiences with, companies that didn't have money, only had ideas, and had a time crunch to like make that thing like come into like reality, right? JP 1.5 started working for bigger companies, where it was the same environment, but now it's like you go to places that had a little bit more resources and you can get stuff done. And like maybe JP 2.0 is going to take all that stuff and be able to like funnel it so that you can do it at a larger scale, right? But it's like, if you think as the product, it's like, okay, so what are the features? It's like, okay, an understanding of how stuff is made. What are the features? An understanding of the actual like code itself and how that happens. What are the other features? Well, a deep understanding of like productivity just from a personal development standpoint, and an understanding of like professional development from a corporate standpoint, right? So like look at it like, what's the features, right? Then you look at the benefits, like, okay, cool. Like what's the benefit of each of those features, right? So understanding of like productivity from a personal development standpoint means that you can basically think of different ways to actually like get shit done. And you're focused on understanding what productivity is, actually like getting to the outcome. Or from a professional development standpoint, you know that you need to have like a balanced take, right? You're not just the coder. You're not just the secretary, right? You are the person, you are the teammate, you are the leader, you are the, like all of those things, like all your different roles and all your different hats come into play, where you have to think about you got to think about your career, you got to think about where are you going, what's the trajectory, you got to think about, what's it going to be right now. So looking at all that stuff, having that understanding and bringing that means that, you can help in different ways that someone that doesn't have that take to it can come in and only do the thing that the label that they're hired for. But it's like, if you think of then looking at it like productize yourself, right? So I'm like, okay, what's the product? What are the benefits, right? If I capture all those things, I have a solid product to sell, right? Is it an economy thing? Is it a quality thing? Is it a image thing where it's like you charge a shit ton, but it's not really giving a ton of value? Or is it something where it's like, all right, it's expensive, but lots of value, right? And here's like all the benefits that it's bringing to the table. So if you like look at all of that stuff, then it makes a lot of sense, because once you have the product defined, the brand conversation is what people say after, your back is turned. But the thing that you walk into the room with is the product. So it's like when you're building your personal brand or whatever, I've been struggling because I'm like, okay, it's all about the image of the thing and controlling the conversation of what people say when you're not in the room. But if I shifted my focus to just be like, okay, define the thing that I'm bringing to the table when I walk in the room, that's a lot easier for me, because from a product management standpoint, then I can look at how do I make this product better, right? How do I make this product like swing up and so on? But it's like, it basically hits every aspect of life, whether it's like your personal social media, whether it's like how you interact at work or whatever. Like, the product is the key, not the brand, right? It's like once you have the product defined, then you can manage perception to make sure that you handle misunderstandings of what people may not be understanding about the product and how it fits into the space. So it's like, okay, cool. Like, this product dresses really well, not because it's about appearances, but it's because, you know what, in a professional setting, this product has to interact at a certain level. Like, whatever it is, like, however, it's hard to like speak of like productizing yourself, but it makes it click, because once you have that, it makes it a lot easier for you to say like, okay, set the price, right? If you just have an image, what are you setting the price for? You're just gonna be like, it's gonna be expensive, right? This brand is gonna be expensive. That doesn't mean shit. But if you have something that you're like, okay, here's the features that it's bringing to the table, right? Here are the benefits that it's bringing. Then you can be like, okay, excellent. Version 1.0 is gonna be at this price. And then it frees you up to like shift your mind to think about the marketing, right? So now if you think of marketing, okay, how do we position it? How do we price it? How do we do this? How do we do that? You can think about it like, okay, what's the value delivery? So, okay, how do we increase the way that the value is delivered? Or if you think about it like the value creation, what more can we add? Can we add another feature, right? It's like, it's a lot easier to think about it like if you think about it like an app, right? It's like, all right, cool. The first Facebook didn't have like status messages. Then it didn't have forums, and it didn't have Facebook Messenger. Right? But then it's like, okay, these people are communicating, but they got to go to each other's pages, so we can add an instant messenger to that. Then we can add something else. And it's a lot easier to think about like the product development than even brand development. And once you have a product, it's easier to control the conversation around the brand and what that is. And I think like once that clicked for me, it's basically like, okay, so how do you get rich without getting lucky? Create a product that is basically worth enough that people will pay in such a way that it brings like the financial gains that you're looking for. So that was pretty much the take. So, c'est ça.